G'day and Kaya, and welcome to the Australians Teach English podcast, the podcast by language learners with language learners for language learners. My name is Glenn, and I'm the owner of the Australians Teach English Institute. And if you would like to support this podcast, then you can support us through our Patreon account, where you can request content of your own and have an influence on what gets played on this program. And our show today is actually our hundredth show. So it's a little bit of a celebration for us. And one way that we could celebrate this is something that has become a little bit Australian: shower beers. And to help me celebrate this, have Abraham and Flo from one of my favorite podcasts, Cachai Australia. Welcome to the show again, Abraham, and welcome to the show for the first time, Flo. How are you guys?
Hi, all good. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, pretty bien. Gracias for having us.
Not a problem. And you guys really should be celebrating too, because your podcast is absolutely kicking ass, is doing very, very well. So you could probably celebrate with, and I know you have been celebrating with, some shower beers. Is that right, Abraham?
Only Abraham.
Yeah, it's just me. It's just me for the moment, for the time being. But I'm hoping that Flo could be converted in anytime soon.
I know.
So recently, this is really what caught my attention for having you actually back on the show, was a little bit of a debate about this shower beer phenomenon. And you were absolutely dead against it, Flo. You're mortified.
So, because in the beginning, I didn't expect that.
You didn't
For me,
understand.
it was something like completely new and weird. And then in our social media start like a huge debate between the people who love shower beers and the one who don't understand. And I think it's something like really related with men's. Because I don't know many women who are trying shower beers.
I highly disagree. I think it's a non-binary, non-gender thing. Anyone can do it. Anyone is welcome to have a beverage, hopefully cold, in a hot shower. I think it's a beautiful mix.
It is actually, if you go on Facebook, Flo, there are Facebook groups dedicated to people taking pictures of
No way.
It's true. It's 100% true.
How good.
It is 100% true. So I understand you're being mortified by this, but it is 100% of a real phenomenon. And
yes, but I don't understand why people cannot wait until finish the shower.
Because you get thirsty. Have you never been thirsty in the shower?
Yes, but I finished the shower and then I had something to drink.
Well, why can't you have the best of both worlds?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I think your point is invalid in so many ways. Firstly, you're being non-functional, because if you want to be functional, you're going to do two things at the same time. And also it's very invalid because you haven't done it. So you don't have an opinion on the matter.
No, yes, I have an opinion, but not like...
But you haven't done it.
Yeah, no, it's true.
So how can you say you don't like it if you haven't done it?
How you wash your hair with the beer in your hand?
With a beer holder.
Yeah, that's right. You know where you put your shampoo in the shower and the holder. You just put your beer there. Like it's not rocket science.
Yes, I know. I think it's not bad. I don't judge the people who likes to do it, but for me it was something like really new, and I never thought that this was part of the Australian culture, like something that common. I don't know. For me, it was new.
Yeah, though, Glenn. Yeah, you haven't done it.
No, I mean this is what we might call a shame job for me. Like, I've never had a beer in the shower, so it's not hugely common. But what I am familiar with is, especially after exercise, is having cold drinks in the shower, and that is excellent. I highly recommend that to everyone, especially like when you feel
like water, cold water.
Cold water, or like orange juice is sort of my cold orange juice is my favorite. actually. So I could see why like actually having alcoholic drinks in the shower would taste really nice. You're having something cold on the inside while it's warm on the outside. So
Exactly.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So are there any other things, Flo, that have surprised you like this about like Australian culture with like drinking in weird places or
surely shui. You have to mention the shui.
Which one is
the shui?
Yeah. Have you done a shui show yet?
I've never done a shui.
Oh, you'll have to. I don't.
Which one is this one?
Okay, so basically, let me do some. You get your shoe.
Yeah.
And then you.
Yeah. I didn't like it.
Well, yeah, okay, fair
It tastes
enough,
tastes like your feet.
What?
Of course it.
No, I've never done a shoe. No.
Did you know that Harry Styles did it when he came to Australia to a concert? Yeah.
Wow, good on him. Yeah, that's a bit too much, I reckon.
It's too much.
Do you know who made the shoey famous?
Matt Hughes?
No, it was Daniel Ricciardo, like a Formula One.
Oh yeah,
he did it on the podium at the Formula One.
Yeah. We're well famous. He made it, I reckon. Yeah,
absolutely. And so we have, I mean, Australians have a bit of a culture with famous culture with drinking and strange things like this. I mean, famously, I'm not sure if you're aware of Bob Hawke, but he was a former Prime Minister of Australia, and he held the Oxford University, Oxford College in the United Kingdom. He held the drinking record there, the sculling record there. So that was one of our former prime ministers actually had a drinking
had a
record.
good go. But did he do this while he was a prime minister?
Yeah, he's actually probably regarded as just about Australia's most successful prime minister.
That tells you a lot about the culture then.
Absolutely. Yeah, he was definitely.
Another common thing is like, especially tradies, but everyone like driving and having a beer.
Oh,
yeah. I have done that.
Yeah, that's really common in this country, especially on Fridays.
Yeah, I have done that.
Yeah.
That's it's got to be illegal. Hey,
it's illegal.
I'll tell you something about being illegal. I was working roadworks one day while I was working roadworks a lot, and we were driving out of the yard in the work ute, and my supervisor, as we're driving out of the yard, he says, "Oh, Glenn, can you hide this as we drive past the office?" Obviously, he didn't want anyone to see, and I was like, "Oh yeah, right." And he passes me a stubby, and this was like 5:30 in the morning, and I'm going to a work site with steamrollers and hot asphalt, and this guy's like getting on the piss at 5:30 in the morning. Like it is a bit of a problem.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, like but it's part of the culture too.
I'm sure you're aware of that meme and that video of the VB long neck guy.
28
in the fucking morning. Yeah. Get that up, yeah.
Yeah. Get that up, yeah. Yeah, that's true. As a trader, he says that if you are a fair dinkum Aussie,
fair dinkum full-grown Aussie like me.
Yeah, and he drinks a baby.
If that help with a visa, I'm gonna do it like right now. I don't have any problem.
Yeah, I reckon it's
with a visa for sure.
It should be mandatory.
You gotta arrive at your IELTS test with a beer in your hand, and probably actually would help. Probably would actually help for your speaking part.
Yeah, we'll relax you a little bit. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so coming back to your show, like really well done on your show. I said to you in private a few times now that it's actually getting to the stage where it is basically like one of my favorite podcasts, which was called Radio Matera, which was actually how I learnt a lot of my Spanish in Argentina. And not just because it was about Spanish or language, but also about culture as well. And so that was a really one of the big influences on this podcast here now. So tell me a little bit about your podcast for people that haven't heard it, and tell me a little bit about the philosophy behind your podcast as well.
Wow, good question. Cachai Australia is a podcast that we've been doing for the past 3 years. It's got 3 seasons. We're preparing the fourth season. And it started as a platform only in Espanol for Spanish speakers living in Australia. And in the last season, we introduced more episodes in Spanglish, English, and even people from outside South American or Latinx countries, because we think that we ultimately, our philosophy is what we look for is culture integration in this land. So whoever, it's a country built by immigrants, so, or expats, as you would say these days. It's to integrate that people with the culture here. So shows like yours that help people to also integrate with the culture through language are very important for so many people that have no idea, or even yet they would call that there's no even culture here. And
yeah,
so
Australia doesn't have a culture.
Oh, it does, mate.
It absolutely does. Yeah,
it does, and it's beautiful. And I think we should integrate ourselves into that and just immerse as much as we can in that, without losing our own culture. And so it's about that beautiful exchange, and yeah, that's what we've been doing with Flo for the past few years.
Yeah, and also I think for us it's really important to like educate people, like people who wants to came to Australia to be like a good immigrants, and also like, I don't know, talk about the things that you never talk but you are feeling when you migrate. Like, I don't know, the difficult things related with learn a new language, the difficult things about being like far from family and friends, and the funny things about like this experience. So we try to be like really honest in what we are feeling in our experiences. So I think it's a space just to share our experience, the experience of others, and educate like the new generations who want to come to Australia.
Yeah, one thing that really, and another thing that got my attention recently was you talking about how people can misinterpret what you were saying, and
Yeah.
there was something about an erection. Is that correct?
Yes. We did an episode with some stories of some of our listeners. And one of them said, like, in one occasion, he was or she was like talking with their friends, and she tried to say like
reaction.
Everyone understand erection.
Oh no. Yeah, and I mean, and we all think, okay, yeah, absolutely. And we all think when we make these mistakes, like we are like the only one that has ever made a mistake like this.
Yeah.
Ever.
Correct.
And it's kind of like a really isolating experience. But the reality is everyone has made mistakes like this. And if you can laugh at yourself and you can laugh at them, the better off you are. And
I've heard that you have a story about that too.
Yeah. So this is one that I bring up all the time. So in Argentina, like a shirt is a remera, but a but a prostitute is a ramara. And so like whenever you are learning a new language, like the vowel sounds are perhaps the most difficult to get a hold of and pronounce correctly. And so once I learned this word, once I thought I learned this word remera, but because it wasn't camisa, like you say, I had to relearn this word. So I said, I need to buy another remera. And so my friends were saying, no, you're not saying what you think you're saying. And they were just laughing at me. And then anyway, so I went, okay, I'm just going to go and buy myself one anyway. So I went to the shop and I said, quiero una remera. And she just laughed because I'd obviously said remera. And so she just laughed and then said, all right, she showed me over over here. And like I knew I'd said the wrong thing. I knew I was going to say the wrong thing, but it's just, you kind of have to get on with it. And I was probably lucky that, in a lot of Latin American countries, people are really good natured like that.
Yeah.
They're not going to take the piss out of you for making a simple mistake like that. If you're genuinely attempting to do something genuine and they know that you're actually trying.
Yeah. Do you feel like that goes both ways though?
Yes. I think in Australia, generally, in Australia, I think it can be a bit difficult because here there's not really the understanding of people learning another language or knowing another language. So people on one point, they kind of don't understand why someone might not be able to pronounce things correctly.
Yeah.
And then on the other point, people get intimidated by people that can speak other languages. So it's kind of a little bit of a either or. A lot of the time, people will get a little bit defensive because they go, well, I can't speak Chinese. So what is this Chinese person doing speaking broken English to me? Like it's quite a defensive. It can be a little bit of a defense mechanism in some parts.
I think it's good to see this in that way.
Yeah.
Because I think it's something that you can feel. Like sometimes when you are trying to speak in English, you can feel like some Australians that they don't like the idea of you trying to speak their language, or they're like trying to make the difference that they cannot understand you because you are not like, I don't know, fluently. Or you're making some mistake.
I think what gets misinterpreted a lot of the time is it's not Australians necessarily being rude. It's about their internal processes going, well, how am I going to communicate if I can't speak another language? And so it becomes like a really defensive posture.
Yes, totally. And makes sense.
Wow.
At some point.
That's On the other hand, for us I was talking to a friend that is basically bilingual now, learning Spanish, and I was saying I wish that we would get as appreciated as you are getting appreciated by our culture, because we love that guy. We love people like you, Glenn, that are willing to speak Espanol and speak our language, and we absolutely froth and love that person. But for an Aussie, it's like you speaking English is like whatever. Like
you have to.
You have to. Yeah.
Once happened to me, like I were with a Brazilian friend, and he was speaking like Spanish for me, like a really good Spanish.
Yeah, well.
And he said like, no, sorry, and we were like, no, you're amazing, you're doing so well. And then I thought like, why is not the same in my case? Why do I feel like this? Why no one said this to me?
It is expected that we would know English.
Yeah, because English is like the language that you have to know.
It's kind of like the default, isn't it? Like
default, like
true. We're in like a really privileged position that we can speak English, and so nothing else is really valued. Like growing up through school here, it's a completely different attitude. It's like, well, you don't need to learn another language because you know English, which is totally the opposite of what gets told to kids everywhere else in the world. It's, well, if you want to actually do something, you have to learn English.
Yes, totally. And I think it because of that, for us was really important to start doing episodes in English, because at the beginning I was like, really nervous about it. And I really didn't like that much the idea, because I was like, I don't know, really shy and afraid because of my English. But then I'm feeling like it's part of educate people, like have episodes in English, even if we don't have a like native or like perfect English. For me, it's also send this message to everyone that you don't have to be like fluently or perfect in English to do things in English.
Sí, exactamente. Es un ejemplo para seguir. Por ejemplo, yo no hablo chileno, pero hablo boludense. Es importante que los escuchantes escuchan que no hablo perfectamente, porque no es importante en inglés o español, or in whichever language you are using. And I think the important thing is, to try and lose that fear. And it really is difficult in a place like Australia, which is the most multilingual country on the planet with the most monolingual culture. And so
that's a quote.
and so like it's really, really, really hard to navigate that, where like there's so much pressure on only speaking English and speaking English, as the Australian way.
Speaking Australian.
Do you know how
even English?
Just to put it in a practical way, I think a really easier way to speak English is just to build up your confidence is when you are having a beer.
In the shower?
Well, especially even more if you're doing it in the shower. Don't you reckon, Glenn?
Absolutely.
How could you know if you've never done it?
Absolutely. Like, I think, all around the world, there are great meetup places like Mundo Lingo and Spanglish and Mate Club de Conversación, all these different places where you can go and exchange languages. And they are often focused around having a drink and being able to relax. And yes, okay, it's a very social thing, and a lot of people go there just to pick up and whatever. But the idea is for it to be in a relaxing social environment.
Yeah, true.
And that is the way that people will learn more effectively, just because they are relaxed. And I think, this is something that gets overlooked a lot of the time. And doing what you guys do with Cachai, like, I think that is really important in terms of lowering sort of the level of formality and expectations that people actually have of themselves when they are communicating, because shit happens.
The expectations are crazy, because everyone says like you need to live 6 months in Australia and you're gonna be like fluently in English and you're gonna learn everything. And
that doesn't happen.
Cool. No, 6 months is nothing.
Yeah. Thanks, Glenn. That's very kind of you, and we are very happy for what we are doing at the moment, and we just want to keep doing it the way we're doing it, with honesty, with fun, with vulnerability, and with unpretentiousness.
Absolutely. And I think, going with that sort of thought of, okay, 6 months I'm going to be fluent, all the rest. Like, how often do people see those language programs, promotions, fluent in 3 months or whatever? And then you go, well, I only learned such and such words in 3 months, so I'm going to give up because it's useless and it's pointless. Like, it doesn't actually help anyone.
Yeah, true.
And I think, this is a really important factor in developing language skills is actually going, okay, being honest about it. What can I achieve? What can't I achieve? But there is always something that you can improve, something that you can improve. And as soon as someone says that you can't do something, or you need to be at this level, or you should be here, then, well, nah.
Yeah.
I would argue that. So what's next for your podcast? What's next on the agenda?
We need vacaciones. We need holidays. But no, we are working on the last episodes of season 3, and then we're gonna finish this season with a live event podcast show in Sydney. So we will share the details with you. Yeah. I wish you would be here so we can come. Well, you can always fly. But we're looking into mid-June. So in 6 weeks' time. And from then we're gonna have a break and just pre-produce the next season, where it's gonna be with sort of the same with English, Spanish, and Spanglish. but with just a few tweaks and just keep doing what we're doing, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
Is there any demand for Australians learning like Chilean Spanish or anything like that?
Probably not. No, probably not.
Absolutely none.
Nah, and no demand for Aussies try to learn Espanol. I think not that many, but there's a few couple of characters that we having on the horizon. Yeah, and surprisingly enough, that we didn't know that they were keen on learning Espanol, and so a few of those
but there's a lot of people with amazing stories that we want to share to everyone in our episodes, even people from Australia and different countries around the world. So that's the good thing of us, the opportunity to make episodes in English, in Spanglish, and in Spanish, because we can invite like everyone to our podcast. And also we always gonna have some episodes, just the two of us, just talking about our life here.
Yeah.
So I think the idea for the next season is to keep like the same kind of content and obviously grow even more and have more opportunities. If we enjoy doing it and live episode, maybe do it another one.
Yep.
So yes, we are open to explore different things.
Sky's the limit.
Fantastic.
Ambitiously enough, we want to just be a voice for any migrant living in Australia. So
absolutely,
and then connect them with the culture here.
Yeah,
part of that culture is like doing a shui or a shower beer.
Well, one thing that I have to bring up here, a culture thing, I have to step in and blow the whistle. Speaking of shame jobs, I'll put my hand up and say, well, I've never had a beer in the shower, but you had a guest on your show. I couldn't believe that you actually had him on your show, Josh Kennedy. And now you've got your own shame jobs to reveal about this
absolutely
one.
Shame job. Yeah,
so tell us about this.
Yeah, Josh Kennedy is a footy AFL player, for former captain of the Sydney Swannies, and he is married with Ana Calle, from Colombia. So it was really fun to have it on the show. We had a lovely conversation with Flo and the two of them. And but none of us knows anything about AFL. And rightly so. We're interested. We don't want to know.
You've never even been to a Sydney Swans game?
No, nothing.
And how long have you been? And how long have you been in Australia for?
Almost 4 years.
That is an absolute shame job. Like, that is just terrible.
Yeah, it's true. But the idea was to talk about like multicultural families, and was a really nice episode because
I wouldn't have spoken to him about that. That's not important.
Yes, they are a really nice family and couple. The episode was amazing, but we don't know anything about footy.
I'm not even interested. I play football. I played the real football.
No, Football Australiano is a football
rather than. You know what I heard the other day though? Like, Tom Holland, the guy, Spider-Man guy? He was talking shit about the American football. He was like, I got nothing against it, but why do they call it football if they kick the ball once?
Apparently, it's because back in the day, sports were only done on horseback. So anything that was played without horses was then considered football. So apparently that is one of the theories.
Like polo, like you're talking like polo.
Yeah. So like all sports were kind of like only for the wealthy, only for the elite. And then and sports on foot would be football. Were generally considered any kind of football.
Crazy, man.
You play with a ball and you run on your feet, not with a horse. So that is apparently one of the theories. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, geez.
Because so anyway, you need to hit up Josh Kennedy for some VIP tickets or something, because he's still a coach at Sydney. So you guys can go and get pissed and take home free booze and have shower beers after the game.
Bloody
it's true.
oath, mate. We might do that. We might do that.
Yeah, absolutely have to.
I haven't even gone and watch NRL game either.
No.
No, don't worry about that. That's not important. NRL.
Okay, fair.
No, the AFL is the most popular sport in Australia.
Yeah. But in Sydney, it's not. That's the thing.
No, that's right.
Sydney does not represent Australia. That's why I said
No.
on the last episode,
Yeah.
Sydney is overrated, and I stand by it.
No, it's not.
If Melbourne had Sydney's weather, everyone would live in Melbourne.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
That's true. It's only the weather.
No, but the city is beautiful.
It's all right.
And the beaches are beautiful.
And there's so much to do in Melbourne and it's so easy to get around in Melbourne.
Yes.
So easy to move in Melbourne.
Yeah, but I love Sydney, so I don't have anything to complain about it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's been an absolute delight to have you on Flo for the first time, and Abraham again once again coming on the show. And I highly recommend everyone checking out Cachai Australia, whether or not they're interested in learning English, Spanish, or just want to listen to something entertaining for that matter, because you will learn lots of interesting things and have a laugh along the way. So it might be time for me to go and have a celebratory shower beer.
Hopefully, man. I'm keen to do that photo.
Yeah, you deserve it. Yeah.
I'll have to take a photo somewhere. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for having us. Congratulations to you for your podcast.
Thank you.
So many episodes.
Forgot about that. 100 episodes.
100 episodes coming up. So
Congrats.
so I'm happy about that.
Celebrating with you on your 100th episode.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for having us.
So yes, if people do want to support this podcast, then get in touch. I can I can send you the link to the Patreon account, and there you'll get lots of extras and lots of goodies and so on and so forth. So from myself here at the Australians Teach English podcast, the podcast by language learners, with language learners, for language learners, it's us saying goodbye. For more information about the Australians Teach English Institute, go to australiansteachenglish.com or follow us on Instagram, Facebook and YouTube at Australians Teach English.